Hello there, how are you? I hope you guys are doing fine. In a previous video, I set up how to discover certain clients. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to install SCCM client. Those of majority of you should already know what a client is, but just in case if you are new to all this and you are just starting out, client is basically an agent that lives on the endpoint, the destination machine, which collects the data, which basically passes all of the instructions depending on whatever the instructions that are going, and does certain functions and those instructions that are coming from an admin using the SCCM console. So if you are trying to push a package, if you are trying to push patches, if you want another information from that endpoint, it is a client that is responsible to do all of those functions and then report back so that certain reporting could be generated. So in this video, and if you are new to my channel, I strongly do suggest that you start this series from the beginning, and the link you could see right up top here is going to pop up shortly. Start from the very first video so that everything makes sense. There are so many setups, so many things to set up this lab, so you might want to start that from the beginning so everything makes sense to you. In this video, basically what I'll do is I'm gonna there is a role that needs to be enabled on SCCM server. It's called the Fallback status point role. A short name for that one is a FSP. This role basically is kind of responsible for sending the messages from the endpoint and then communicating with the management point on the SCCM server basically, and that's how the messages are managed. This role is not you are supposed to enable this role, but this role itself does not function. It does require that the client is configured to reply back to. So basically, whenever you are doing installation of the client, this the configuration piece needs to be within that client too, which I'll show you during later towards the video when I'm doing the installation. Then I would quickly go over firewall policies. It's actually a recap because the policies are already there through the GPO. I have created those GPOs in the video 2 of this series. So you might want to go and look at that video too as soon as I get to that piece. Basically, there are several different methods to install the client. The ones that you are seeing on the screen, I'm mentioning about 6. There are actually more than 6, but I would be mainly focused on the most important 5 ones, and each one I'm going to show you how to install and configure. First one is going to be manual installation, then logon script installation, software update point installation, group policy installation, and client push installation. This video would have become so large if I just compile all of them into one. So to break the things into little bit pieces, what I'll do, I will conclude this video after installing the manual installation, and then I will create about 2 or 3 more videos and try to compile the remaining 5. So stay tuned, and you might want to subscribe to my channel so that you could see each method in details that how I will install it. What I'll also do on each video when I'm doing that installation, I will also go over quick advantages and disadvantages of each method, why you should do and why you shouldn't do. Kind of give you a little bit idea on why one would want to go that route. So I'm gonna start with manual installation. With the manual installation, basically, and the advantages of manual installation are it does not require computers to be discovered before the client can be installed, and it can be useful for testing purposes too if you are doing certain type of testing. It does support command line properties for CCM setup. .exe. Those of you who knows about the properties of the Microsoft installer, which is MSI, There are public and private properties. Any property that is defined as a public, you could actually pass the values through the command line. One day I would create a detailed video on how to do the packaging, and I will explain that in detail. But the good part is doing a manual installation, that any public properties that are defined in MSI for the client, you could pass it through the command line. One major disadvantage, this is not 100% correct, but it is no automation, therefore it is time consuming. You cannot really automate this. I know you're gonna say, well, there are ways. Yeah, you could actually script certain things, but the hoops or the workarounds that you would have to do in order for it to get to the machine, it is very time consuming. So that's why it cannot be automated the way a true automation, the definition of true automation is. Okay, so now I'm just gonna go ahead and get this started by logging into SCCM server and set up the FSP role, and then move the video forward. So I'm just gonna quickly RDP into SCCM 01. All right, that's SCCM 01. Launch the SCCM console. First thing first that I recommended in the last video too, or the previous video, always try to take a look at the status of your system, that if everything is running smooth. So click on monitoring, go to system status, site status, everything is green. Component status, take a look at it real quick, everything is green, so everything is running fine. So now I'm gonna enable the FSP feature. Click on administration, go to site configuration, then click on servers and site system roles. Search for that site where you want to install this on. I have only one, which is SCCM 01 right here. Right click and add site system roles. Leave everything as default. I'm just gonna use the same account too, because I logged in as SC_admin. Next. We are not using proxies for this lab, so next. These are the roles that are currently available, but they are not installed. I would go ahead and then start installing more too and create those videos. But for now, all I need to do is I am going to go for fallback status point. And you could kind of see the little bit description about it too. A fallback status point helps you monitor client installation and identify the clients that are unmanaged because they cannot communicate with their management point. So click next. Leave everything as default. Next. Next. What you could do, close and then go to the logs folder, which is C program, basically wherever you have installed the SCCM. If you're following along my lab, it would be under C program files, Microsoft Configuration Manager and logs, and then the log would be, I think it's FSP setup. Yeah, sorry, SMS FSP setup. Just open that, and as you could see, installation was successful. Now if I go back and take a look at the current roles that are installed, this one should be here, fallback status point right here. So this is looking good. Next I'll do is make sure that firewall rules are configured. So there are two ways you could do. One is just to basically configure on each machine, which I don't think you want to do that. So the best way to do is by going and making sure that those rules are set up through the GPO, so that any machines, when it joins the domain, those rules are applied to it, and you will not have to do this one manually over and over. So I will show you quickly, which I have already done. You do need to go and click up right here, where you could go and see how those rules were configured. But just to quickly verify that they are still there, I'm just going to quickly show you a couple of them, not each one of them. So in order to do that, I'm just going to log into domain controller, which is txdc01. txdc01. Launch the server manager and go to group policy management, and just basically expand that for us, and then go to domains, and this is pbtech.com, and this is the policy, the one that I have created. And if I just really go and start drilling down to the select the policy and go under settings, you would see that there were certain security policies that I had actually enabled, like these were firewall settings, involved rules. These were the ones that were enabled, and to enable these, just watch that video. Everything is kind of explained in detail. So we are good on the policies. Next, what I'll do is, I do have one machine that is that has only Windows 10 installed on it. There is no SCCM client on it. That machine is joined to domain, and now I will just simply go and install the client on it manually. And also the name for that machine is test3. So if you look at it, I'm just quickly going to show you that the machine is already on domain, the one that we will be targeting for the SCCM client. If you go to the devices, asset and compliance, and then devices, and as you can see, test3 is there, but it says the client is equal to no. It doesn't have the client. So I'm just going to RDP into this machine. And I am logged in as SC admin into this too, because it makes it much easier, because I have access to all of the resources on SCCM. And then SC_admin is also domain admin, so automatically that account is admin to this machine too. So first thing, the way I do, I mean, I'm sure there are so many different methods people can do. The way I do, if I have to manually install it, I want to make sure that I have a source code for SCCM client, and then I quickly create a 2-script install and uninstall. That makes it much faster and much easier for me. So that's what I'm going to show you how I do that too. So open the file explorer real quick, go to C, and then create a folder. You could name it whatever you want. I call it SCCM client source. SCCM client source, and here open a new explorer and browse to where the source is, and that's why the user account, I am using the user account SCCM, that SC_admin, because I do have the access to it. And the source files are always stored on your SCCM installation on the SCCM for server. So in my case, SCCM is SCCM01, and it's on C, program files then C, and then make sure to use a $ when you are trying to browse remotely to those files. So SCCM, basically the path would be this: SCCM 01 C $ program files and SCCM configuration manager. Let's go there. and then this is the folder that has a client in it. You don't need to copy the whole thing. All you gotta do is just go and grab ccm.setup. The other thing that you also need to do, quickly enable the file extensions so that you could see what the extension of the file is. To do that, simply click on View and then go to Options, and click on Options. You're gonna have this prompt. Then go to View and look for Hide extension for known files. It needs to be unchecked. Just uncheck that one, apply, okay, and now you could see those extensions, the file extension here. You need this one because in the next step, when I'm going to show you how to write the script, it's going to be a batch file. That text file is going to be converting into batch file, so it makes things a little bit easier. So I'm just going to copy this ccm setup.exe and then put it into this folder. Next, what I'll do is I also try my best to get the CM trace because run on this machine because it makes it much easier to read the logs. So do that, just type in the search CM trace, and I'm searching in this directory for SCCM01 where the SCCM is installed. So just double click on that cmtrace.exe, and this should basically now start using the logs. Whenever you will open the logs, you would be able to read the logs in the CM trace. So I'm just going to close this. I don't need anything here now, so I'll just go ahead and close that. Now right click, create a new file, and call it create a new text file. Text, and I will call this one install, and extension needs to be .batch, BAT. Yes. And now make a copy of this one. I did Control C and then Control V to paste, Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and then this one I'm gonna call this uninstall. Okay, so now I have these two files, and in the install file, what I'll do is right click, edit, and the command line that you want to put is, I have it copied here. Right here is %tilde. This sign is called tilde dp0. So what this means that whenever ccm setup.exe is executed, doesn't matter wherever it is executed, it would always look into that folder. So the path for this file basically would become SCCM underscore client underscore source. So let's say if you move this to C, let's say C Windows temp, and then when you execute it, the execution path would become that C Windows path. That's the reason that this the first 5 characters are. And then obviously ccm setup.exe is the actual CCM, the executable. /mp, you're telling it where the management point is and where to go and grab the remaining part of the files. You saw like there was a folder up there that has a lot of files and folders. So whatever the installation files that are needed, that's what it will do, and that's what the path you are giving it. So make sure give the fully qualified name. So it does work well with even if I would have given that SCCM01, because that's where the files are. That's where my SCCM server is too. But if you give the fully qualified domain name, it makes it much easier. If the DNS is not working properly, if there are little problems here and there, it knows where to find. No service /no service is a command. It's a switch, sorry. It's a switch that you are telling this installer that if the SCCM client is installed, then don't do anything. Just basically skip installation. That's what it would do. Next, this is a property within the CCM setup. MSI basically is SMS site code. In my case is TX1. If you are following along my lab, that's what it would be for you to. Basically, is if you go into SCCM server, and if you look at it, administration sites, you see this right here, TX site code is TX1. That's what that site means. Site code is, and then that FSP server, which we just set it up, which in my case is SCCM 01. So I like to give the full qualified name so that it's easier for it to find. And then SMS management point. In my case, it is SCCM 01. You might have a different one, so you will just need to change it here. Once you have this all, simply file and save. That's done. So install is done, and the uninstall is basically just right click, edit, and this one is C Windows. I need to get the path of where it keeps it. Usually I like to copy and paste it. So this would be under C Windows CCM setup. Copy. And I'm just gonna paste it here. And this would be also CCM setup.exe/uninstall. Once you would install, there would be a folder that this installer is going to create and copy this file ccm setup.dat. So in order for you to uninstall, then obviously once you execute this, it would just work just fine. So I'm just going to save this one. Now we have this all set up, and if you go to control panel and look at here, you don't see it's basically, I'm on the home page of control panel. You could get under here by, I mean, you might have this set up when you open it. So just simply change the category to small icons, and this is where SCC configuration manager icon should show up here too. So nothing here, as you could see. So I'm just going to go ahead and right click on install.batch and run as admin. While this is running, I'm just going to open up C so that you could see the logs, like what is going on. C Windows, and you would see right here CCM setup, continue, and that's, if you could see, now it's automatically going and grabbing all those files and pulling them down. So I'm just going to look at it, open the logs folder, and CCM setup.log is the one that's going to have all those entries. So open it, and this is the beauty of CM trace. If you are reading the logs in the CM trace, as you could see, is living right now. It's populating and refreshing itself, versus if you would have opened this one in the notepad, it would not. You would have to close and reopen, and each little change that you would be able to see. This one is going good. Then don't worry about these errors until the installation is running. Unless it gets stuck, then yes, you need to worry about it. But for now, it's going, negotiating all the values, checking, and sometimes what happens that on the first run, you see the row or the error, but because it was probably missing some prerequisite or something was missing, so it goes, installs it, and then go back and then grab those things. So never worry about error in the logs until it really is stuck for a long time, or it really exits out, which this window would close once it's successfully installed, or it failed to. Then you need to worry about it. But during the installation, don't worry too much about it, because so many things are happening at that time. And client.msi.log is the actual installation of it. So there is some prerequisite that it goes and check the CCM setup.exe, and then once there, then it executes. The actual installation is right here. So I'm just going to open that too and start looking at it. And once we see the status of the client into client.msi.log, that would be actually a good indicator that it was successful. It's a huge log, so that's why it's taking just a little bit longer. It's about 9 megabytes. So this one is the log near open, and if you just look at it right here, the same installation operation completed successfully. So no issues, and even the exit codes are 0. I'm gonna close this log, and then even if you go and look at it now, the log which was CCM setup.log, that should have exited with the 0. That means no errors, no problems on that. That's good. So next thing what you need to do is just simply go to C Windows and then look at CCM, because now the SCCM client is installed. So you could the logs for the functions, the CCM setup has the log for installation of the client, but CCM and the logs has the actual functions, whatever it's doing. Those logs are populated over here. It's gonna take some time for it to populate more logs here, because obviously now it will go back, communicate to the SCCM, and then start sharing the information with it. Like even if you take a look at it, you can open the client location.log. This is basically trying to tell the SCCM server, like, hey, where I am, or who I am, and where I am, basically. So as you could see right here, it's saying domain join client is intranet, as we know is internally, and the domain that it is on is bbtech.com. So there are many logs that you could look and monitor and see what they're doing. Another very important log is also CCM exec.log. This has a lot of information that it shares, collects the information from the endpoints, and then share it with the SCCM. Basically, what are the executions it's doing, what are the things that it's doing. So you will obviously need to, as you grow into this, you will need to learn more about the logs, each log and what each log is about. So now if I go and look at the SCCM, into the control panel, I'm just going to refresh it. And sometimes I have noticed that it doesn't refresh right here better. So it's easier to just go back out once and then try to come back again. Control panel home. Yeah, it just takes a little bit of time. And as you could see, it's still not there. But if I go back and can close it and come back in, that's going to refresh it better. Right there, you could see it right now. Just simply click on Configuration Manager, and you could see that's the first tab is General. SCCM client is installed on it successfully. Version is 5.0. Whatever the current version that you have deployed or installed. Components, all of these components that are installed as part of that the client. Actions, as you could see right now here, you are going to see it's because it still have not communicated 100%. It's trying to sync, it's trying to gather the information. Once all of the information is good and it is able to successfully connect to the SCCM, you will see there are more actions that you could perform here that are going to populate. Same thing here with the site. You are seeing it's nothing. It should show TX1. It's still doing it, so you're going to see shortly it's going to start populating all these. Same thing with the cache size and all that stuff. Network, this should show exactly how and where you are connected from. So we'll just wait. I'm just going to pause it for a few seconds so that it can populate all of the information it needs, and then I'll be back. So as you can see now here, I have a client location log open. You can see that the management point is assigned with SCCM 01. Just browse through the logs and see if you see anything in the logs. If there are any errors or any problems, then obviously you would need to address those. One thing that I have noticed on some of the machines, sometimes you're going to run into a problem, especially when you are installing it manually, installing the SCCM client manually. I have actually taken a snapshot here too. You would get some kind of warnings, like if you look into SMS CLI UI log, you would get client is currently unassigned or an error occur retrieving the site. Whenever you run into this kind of problem, for whatever reason, the site was not assigned correctly during the installation. So the easiest and the quickest way is that you could just run a command line, which I'm just gonna show you real quick here. I have it. Just open CMD and then right click, run as admin, and yes, that's the command line, wmic.exe, and node is I put the local host. You could put the machine name too, and then namespace. Basically, you could see, and I will leave this command line for you in the description of this video too. This is the command you need to run, and basically all you are trying to do is you are telling this system that, hey, you are assigned to this site, and that makes sure the site code is correct, tx1, and then simply execute it. What it would do, it will just go and assign the site code, and then it will also restart the services, SMS services on this machine, and you would start seeing automatically start populating all of the other entries, and it will basically fix that issue, the one that you are seeing, which is if the system is complaining that this system is not assigned to a site, or the site code is not properly assigned. I hope and yeah, let's log in. One more thing I just wanted to show, it should probably be reporting now to SCCM. So I'm just going to go back into SCCM server, go to asset and compliance, and as you could see, test 3, now the client is yes, but if you look at the icon right here, this one still have question mark. The reason why is because it still does not have enough information. Basically, it still have not ran all of the checks and balances onto that machine, where it is collecting all of the information from that client. So you need to make sure that this check is green. Once all of them are done, then you are going to see it changes. I'm going to try to refresh it. Yeah, it's still there, because if I go back and look at it, I'm sure it's still I'm going to close this right here. No need to save. I'm going to close this one. And if I look into the logs, you see CCM log is still writing, it's still doing several things. Yeah, this one, yep, is very 9:41, a minute ago. So I'm just gonna give it just a little bit more time for it to turn green. Let's see. Right click. Sorry, right here. Let's go back. Still not refreshed. So we'll give it a little bit more time. I'm just gonna pause it and I'll show you guys. It's still modifying. It's still doing 9:42. 9:43. So just a little bit more time. Let's. I'm just gonna refresh it here. Yeah, one thing you need to start learning that patience is the virtue with SCCM. You cannot just really go crazy at it like it should do instantly. It does take time on reporting and several things because there is so much activity that happens. So you should always kind of give it a little time and you would be happy. SCCM is going to make you happy too. But if you're just going to keep figuring it, it will make your life hell. It's going to go back again. Refresh it. User Bibi 42, 44. Yeah. I'm just going to pause it just for a few more seconds and come back. Alright, I'm just going to refresh it again. here. Yep, as you could see, it gathered more information, and now you could see that green check to it that is healthy, is all good. This conclude how to install SCCM Client manually. In the next video, it's going to be probably much shorter than this, because majority of the homework is kind of done on installing the SCCM client. So next one would be how to install SCCM client using, let me see what was in the list, sorry, logon script installation. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and do so now. I will be putting many videos. Thank you so much for tuning in wherever you are. Peace.